Thirst is a 2009 released fantasy horror directed by Park Chan-wook.
It's a story of a Catholic priest called Sung Yun who volunteers for a vaccine program to try and find a cure for a quite nasty disease. In the process of those trials, he has a blood transfusion, which turns him into a vampire.
He does, but he dies first, doesn't he?
Well, he does, yes.
Yeah.
And then he comes back to life a couple of minutes later.
Yeah.
Soon after, realises that he's not quite the same as he was before, and he suddenly has a thirst for blood. Yeah, he's then sort of held up as this miracle man who's, he's the only person in this trial to have survived. So, there's all these people who want him to heal them and things like that. And one lady comes and says, "Oh, my son's in the hospital, he's got cancer, come and heal him." And she goes in and then realises that they know each other, and he used to come around their house for noodles, I think, when he was a kid, or when he was younger anyway. Once the son sort of recovers, he starts to visit them at their house. There's a young woman who's the wife of the son. She's kind of put upon by both the mother and the son. She was kind of raised as a daughter by her, but she's not related to them. So, she's grown up and then married the son. But yeah, she's sort of their dog's body, basically, and is pretty miserable with her lot. So they kind of start to form a relationship, and then she discovers he's a vampire, and as the story goes on from there. So it's filled with lots of your sort of usual vampire-y stuff, like aversion to sunlight and being able to jump really high.
Yeah, Spider-Man style.
Yes, that sort of stuff.
Across rooftops.
Yeah.
And
sort of heightened strength and healing and things like that. So
and he sleeps in a box.
Yes.
A coffin type box.
Yeah.
Can hang upside down and things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Park Chan-wook, obviously most famous for Old Boy and more recently The Handmaiden. Stars Song Kang-ho, who's quite a recognisable face in Korean cinema. He was in The Host, Good, the Bad, the Weird. If you've seen any Korean cinema, then chances are you've seen one of the films that he's been in.
So vampires. This is a vampire film. I'm a big fan of vampire films. I've seen many different vampire films, and I love to watch. Obviously, Dracula is the the kind of definitive vampire tale. But there, over the years there have been so many different variations. I love to see the different takes. I find a lot of horror, and obviously zombies is a big kind of horror. I'm not saying anything about zombies, but the interesting thing, zombie films tend to be zombies stomping along after people. Vampires, you can do lots of different things, and people do different things. I mean, you look at the diversity between something like Dracula. And Lost Boys, Blade, The Hunger, with David Bowie, The Addiction is another one, Near Dark.
Let the Right One In.
I mean, there's lots of different takes on the Twilight, if you want to go there. This is actually based on a novel. Well, it's loosely based on a novel called Thérèse Raquin. It's a French novel. Came out in 1867 by a author named Émile Zola. I think he's famous, very famous. But I can't say I have heard of him, but I have never read this novel. But it's based on it because in that it was quite scandalous when it came out. It was very controversial. It's kind of about a volatile relationship. Right. So there is a young woman in it, and she is married to her first cousin, and her first cousin and the aunt treat her quite horrendously. Right, it was quite controversial at the time, and it's quite deep psychologically.
But is there any vampire elements in it?
There's no vampire elements at all.
Before Dracula.
It's before Dracula. Dracula came out, I think, 1897. This film has that strange, volatile relationship between this young woman he meets, and like you say, she's married to the son. And then this woman, and this weird kind of, dominance. And there's no violent sexual scenes, but obviously you're bringing... I think it's an interesting way into it because there is these kind of almost sadomasochistic type scenarios and sex scenes going on with that kind of bloodlust as well. So I thought it was an interesting take. Like I said, I've not read the book, so I can't say how far into that. I don't know how far they go into the kind of psychological stuff. Too much, but it sounds like an interesting book. I read a couple of reviews. Actually, some people were saying they didn't like how they'd used this book. Right. But then, of course, many people who will love that work of fiction and perhaps don't get the film so much. I really enjoyed the film. It's very weird. It's very weird. I mean, Old Boy's weird, but it's quite coherent, that film. This one seems to do... It's quite hallucinogenic, and in fact, I think the novel itself was also quite... There seemed to be mention of quite hallucinogenic things going on in there, which this film has as well. There's some quite strange visuals. There's some beautiful visuals, actually, in this film. And one thing I've noticed watching the Korean films that we've been watching and other ones I have seen is the cinematography is always
they always
look
gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Korea looks beautiful. I should go.
Yes.
Well, I've been to Japan. One day maybe I shall get there.
So Kim Mok-bin plays Taeju, who's the love interest, shall we say, and I'm only familiar with her from The Villainess, which came out a couple of years ago. Sort of an action film, but no, I think she's amazing in this. You know, at first she's sort of this mousy, sort of downtrodden girl, and then as this sort of relationship develops, she comes out of herself and completely changes her personality. So while Sang-yeon is, he obviously, he's a vampire, he needs blood, but he's trying his very best not to kill anyone for it. He works in a hospital sometimes, and there's a guy in a coma, and he takes his drip. And drinks blood out of it, basically. Sort of reverses the flow of the drip, sucks a bit of blood, and then puts it back in. So the vampiric part of him is sort of suppressing this disease, but that hasn't actually gone away. And when he doesn't drink blood, this sort of disease has, part of it is like blisters that form on the skin, and these blisters start to come back. And as soon as he drinks some blood, they go again. So, he can't just ignore his need for blood because otherwise this disease will take over and will kill him. Once Taeju sort of learns about this vampire side, she starts to plot to sort of get away from her family and well, let's just say there might be some murder involved. And like I said, she changes and she becomes quite brutal, shall we say? From the sort of mousy, quiet girl that she was into a completely different person, basically. Interesting transformation through the period of the film.
She's very good. I haven't seen The Villainess. I don't know that film. Is that Asian? Is that Korean?
It's Korean film.
Okay, I don't know that. I've not seen it, so I couldn't say I'd seen it in anything before that I knew of. Yeah, I thought her performance was excellent. Like really, really captivated me the whole time. Probably more so than the priest. Although he's very good too. I mean, he doesn't. Although he changes into a vampire, he doesn't. You're not with him very much before he becomes this vampire.
No. Because he's a good person. The reason he's doing that medical trial is because he likes to help people.
He's a Catholic priest, exactly, yeah.
So, and once he becomes a vampire, he still has that humanity in him to want to help people. And that's why he doesn't, just go and kill random people.
Yeah, whereas she, I mean, she's obviously, she's this kind of submissive woman, but then it's almost like she has that revenge. I mean, in a way, although this isn't part of the revenge trilogy, there is that revenge going on in this film. She wants to seek revenge on those that have kind of kept her down and pushed her down through her life. And her change, I mean, it's almost her film, although it's his film, it's her film as well, and she changes a lot during it. And it's got some wonderful stuff with her. I mean, it's it's one of those films where you kind of want to watch it for certain performances. And there's some quite physical stuff going on. There's a couple of scenes, I don't know whether to chuck a clip over because it's quite far into the film, but there's one scene that I'm like, how the hell did they do that? Because it's very physical. I couldn't work out. Some of it, I think, was CGI. I think there's a lot of wire work going on in this film.
Yeah, definitely.
But there was one scene, I'll say it's the bit with the car. Someone gets hit by a car.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very quick, but I was like, how? I wasn't quite sure how they did that. It was really, it was quite a violent moment.
The magic of cinema.
Magic of cinema, indeed. It's very bloody. There's a couple. There's a not very nice. I think it's when he's been given the virus.
Yeah,
he's playing I don't think it's a recorder. It was like a flute or something, and he just like vomits up all this blood, and it's quite
coming out the holes in the flue and out
the
end.
And I have to say, actually, and that's another thing this film reminded me of. Obviously, there's lots of vampire things going on there, but it also reminded me of The Fly.
Yeah,
the Cronenberg film, which I love. I'm a huge fan. It's one of my favourite Cronenberg films and one of my favourite horror films, The Fly. And there's a couple of things in this. There's the fingernail. He pulls off his fingernail, which is basically like The Fly did. And The Fly, there's some quite there's that scene where it's one of the most revolting scenes in cinema when he regurgitates his food and he vomits up his food over his hand. And it's just the most. It's horrible. And that sequence with the blood reminded me of that. And there's a couple of other things here. Obviously, the jumping around. And so I wonder if maybe The Fly was a bit of a some kind of inspiration on this film because it's a great film as well. I really enjoyed this film. I think it's got some wonderful set pieces. It's some weird stuff going on. It's quite surreal at times. Yeah, I really. Yeah, thumbs up. Do we have it? Do you have it on?
Yeah, I've got it on Blu-ray. Yeah, I originally saw it. I think they showed it on Film 4.
Okay.
A few years ago. But yeah, I picked up the DVD after I'd seen it, so I could watch it again. Yeah, I think
As a tartan again.
it is. Yeah. And it's not hard to find. On DVD and Blu-ray. I mean, I think as usual with these Korean films, there's lots of different editions around. I think it was only released on Blu-ray in the US last year, I think, and it's got a commentary on it with a film journalist, not Park Chan-wook, but it doesn't have all the features that are on this. Not that this has a great deal on it. It's got a couple of I think it's got an interview with Park Chan-wook. Interestingly, because it's all these over 10 years old now, he was asked a question about the Old Boy remake, which of course at that point hadn't been made, and at that time Steven Spielberg was being touted as making it. And he was saying, I'm really interested to see what he does with it. Obviously, it never happened, and it was made by Spike Lee instead. I can't say I've seen it. It's kind of one of those remakes where you think, I don't really need to watch it. I might check it out one day. So, I mean, obviously there's a Korean edition, which does actually have a director's cut on it, and I think it does have English subtitles. None of the extras are English friendly, but if you wanted to get the director's cut and weren't bothered about the extras, then that would be obviously the one to go for. If you don't speak Korean, obviously if you do, great. And I think there's a French edition as well, which I think I might have both cuts on it, or it definitely has the director's cut, but I don't think that is English friendly. It's only got French subtitles on it, so you're going to be a bit stuck with that. So, but there's lots of different versions, lots of different extras, and there's plenty to choose from, but it's not hard to pick up.
Right.
And, Film 4 might show it again, you never know.
I love the poster on this. I love the imagery on this one. I think it's it's a nice. I mean, I love poster, film poster artwork. I've always loved that, and there's some great posters out there. And obviously, I love the drawn ones. The art ones are great, but it's really nice that sometimes you get kind of photographic ones. I think this is a really good. Again, it's quite surreal.
Yeah,
it's quite an interesting look, and it's quite creepy as well. I just think it's a great poster for that film. We should do that. We should do a video on our favourite
posters.
Film posters.
I like that idea, yes. There you go. Watch out for that one.
Watch this space. So that was Thirst. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Hit the subscribe button up there, and don't forget to press the bell for notifications. There's some other videos to check out over there. Come and find us on Twitter, Facebook and Instagram. And make sure you come back next week for another video.